Two certainties in the world that's transforming and has a ton of uncertainties. Hey, this is Moni saying I created this channel to help you raise your children, your students for success. You watch these videos because you know that there's something more inside these kids. They got Steve Jobs type of talent hidden inside them. So today, let's progress forward with raising resilient creators by learning more about the shaping of the metaverse and the kind of certainties we see in a world that totally in churn today. So, as the metaverse is evolving, the interconnected 3D virtual worlds and that allow you to take on different personas, buy virtual goods using your cryptocurrencies, being able to teleport yourself to different parts of the world, um, to different parts of your own body, and be able to visualize and experience these different environments in a totally new perspective. That's the promise of metaverse. It's creating opportunities in various industries, from education to tourism to entertainment and commerce. Now, most of the shaping of metaverse is still being up in the air, being defined, right? And all of that, how it gets defined, depends a lot on how the ecosystem of technologies and the innovation and the research, along with the policies, how they all come together. So, while most of those aspects are uncertain, the technologies will play a significant role because they will physically enable the interconnection of these virtual worlds. Um, and that's something that is not completely within our control today. Of course, the industry is evolving the way it is, but there's this other element that if you look at where things are going, and in spite of all the uncertainties around it, we do see two certainties. And I want to talk about those because once you know that there are those two certainties, there are certain actions with regards to preparedness, future preparedness of your children that you can take now. So, while there's a lot of uncertainty in how the metaverse shapes up, we can be assured of these two certainties. Number one, there will be significant rapid transformations, changing landscape that create immense churn in the skills needed to stay relevant and competitive. And that means constant skilling, upskilling and reskilling to ensure your ability to create value in this world. McKinsey, the global consulting firm, estimates that around 375 million workers will have to change their job occupation by 2030 because the market labor demand is rapidly changing. Now, of course, I think that's a given, right? As the technologies are changing, there are new technologies coming into play. Of course, there'll be a need to learn, to develop those new technologies, and a need for a lot of different skills around that. So that's the first certainty, is the skills and how rapidly they are changing. And number two is the digital influence on us. It is going to increase at a very rapid pace, which means that the constant chatter, the buzz of devices, the various applications, whether in use for school, for work, for personal, the online communities, games, emails, social media, text, videos, everything designed by experts to keep their audience hooked and to binge, will just keep increasing. These are the constant distractions of an always on culture, the information overload. It's like a haze, a snowstorm that blurs everything and brings constant distractions and loads of stress and anxiety. Consider the amount of time children are spending behind the screen. Per the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, on an average, children ages 8 to 12 in the United States are spending 4 to 6 hours a day watching or using screens. And teens spend up to 9 hours per day. And this was pre COVID. As we all know, the pandemic brought a supersonic explosion of screens into our children's lives. Globally, 1.6 billion students got pushed into digital learning overnight. And technology adoption that would traditionally take 8 to 10 years happened in a matter of just a few months. With all this digital influence comes constant distractions and, of course, the stress and anxiety. Consider this. As the virtual worlds are becoming closer and closer to reality, some problems of the real world are also porting into the virtual. Two incidents of virtual groping and verbal abuse were reported by women. And this caused Meta, Facebook, to increase the personal space boundary walls for the digital avatars. You can also look at the impact of any kind of negative post or an interaction on social media or an email. We all carry a smartphone, and many of these smartphones have these stress meters. And if you just look at any negative interaction, a little post, email, and just do a stress check on you to see how that's impacting you. What has changed significantly is that in the past, if you had a negative interaction with someone, it would be very transient. It will typically be between two people, limited in space, limited in duration. So you walked away from that situation, and that incident really just stayed between those two people. Whereas what's happening today in this digital world is that negative experience, that interaction lingers. If it's a post on the social media, it's out there forever, and it's out there in public to be seen and commented further by other people. So, and that creates a lot of anxiety, especially for the youngsters who are very much influenced by the peer pressure and the peer commentary. So, and on top of all of this, there's also a question of how the constant dopamine hits that we get with instant gratification, like clearing a game level or acquiring digital tokens, etc., how they impact the long-term goal seeking in people. Now, Dr. Anna Lemke, a world leading expert in addiction, says that people are turning to their smartphones for quick hits, seeking attention, validation, and distraction with each swipe, like, and tweet. Since the turn of the millennium, behavioral as opposed to substance addictions have soared. Now, dopamine is the motivation hormone. It's the brain's major reward and pleasure neurotransmitter. It's what drives us to seek things we think will bring pleasure. So, long term goal seeking is driven by dopamine. And while many of us and our ancestors had to work really hard for pleasure. We would work hard because our goal was to, let's say, complete college, get a job. But now with these instant pleasure available at our fingertips, it's giving us this constant joy, and that is impacting the ability to maintain the motivation for those more longer term goals. And it's taking people into this constant spiral of a joy seeking abyss. Now, so those are going to be the two Key certainties as we move towards this uncertain world. Number one, knowing that there is a constant churn, immense churn on the skills needed to stay relevant and competitive. And number two, the digital influence that's increasing on us at a very rapid pace. Hey, now that you have watched this or heard what I just shared, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And also, depending on which platform you're on, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating or like and comment. And also share this resource with your friends and relatives so that they can also get their hands on all this valuable information that I'm sharing. Now, one more thing. I am giving away my 7 C's blueprint for raising successful children. So if you have not gotten a copy yet, go ahead and do that right away. You can go to www.raisingresilientcreators.com. The link is down in the description. So go ahead, click on it and get that resource. It's a very valuable resource that can help you with your priority of getting your children on the pathway towards success. So with that, again, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and get that resource right away.